Look what it took for Aaron Rodgers to decide if he wants to be a New York Jet. Bruh, are you kidding me? What, 3 days, 2 days in complete darkness? What is up with your man's A-Raj? And if you're not watching on YouTube, hey man, that's on you. But I understand audio audience, I'm still here with you. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. Aaron Rodgers' darkness retreat has officially ended. This is as of Friday. This is where he spent his time. It's a partially underground in a hobbit-like structure with 300 square feet of space that included a bathroom. So thankfully he could, do what he got to do there for 3 days or 2 days in darkness. A queen-size bed. I mean, that's poverty shit to me, but okay. King size only, Cali King preferred, but it is what it is. Meditation like mat on the floor, meditating in the dark as if sitting in basically a studio space. In the dark isn't enough. They provide a mat that you can also meditate on in the dark while you're in the state of meditation. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, so this is what A-Raj put himself through to figure out if he wants to be a Jet or not, if he wants to leave the luxurious confines of the frozen tundra that is Lambeau Field and wants to spin the block and go to MetLife. I don't understand it. I truly don't. Why can't he just make his mind up? I feel like this is clearly his offseason, so he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do. But this is becoming every year now, seemingly, where it's like a soap opera when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And this was the guy that was supposed to be, at one point in time. He certainly has revealed his true self since, quarantine and the pandemic. But this was a guy that prior to that was thought to be the perfect spokesman. State Farm commercials. Wasn't he in some of those Campbell? Remember the Campbell soup ads? Like he was in all of those. Although, wait, could he be in the Campbell soup ad? Because we know him and his family is not. Normally, isn't that you and your mom's? Like, I don't think his mom's really. Anywho, so Raj, this man is trying to decide if he wants to be a quarterback away in Green Bay or a quarterback away in New York. I think he should be a quarterback away in San Francisco, but that's on him. But I watched a 4-minute video on what this structure is like. Some other person was in there for, I believe, 5 days. Someone went 5 days in this 300 square feet of space, just complete darkness. No sunlight, no nothing, no lamps, no nothing. You're just literally no candles. Like you see, there's candles here. If you're watching along on YouTube, there's candles here just to show light in this space, what it looks like when it's lit up. But I watched a 4-minute video of this space and dude was bugging out within 15 minutes of sitting in the dark. Like he was like, the silence was deafening, which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but whatever. So, but he also said, he slept for 16 hours. I don't know about you, but if it takes me to go to a 300 square feet space, like studio space, where it's complete darkness to sleep 16 hours, I don't want it. And I want to sleep for once in my life for 16 hours. I can't do it. But if it takes me to have to do a darkness retreat to get that off, then something ain't right. I should not have to be in a darkness retreat to sleep for this long. But 16 hours of sleep, bro, got. So maybe there is something to it. I mean, most of the times people just pop gummies or smoke one to lay out for that long. But, this dude, A-Raj, has to go to a darkness retreat. So what does this actually mean for the Packers or for the Jets? No one kind of knows because everyone's kind of in a standstill. Other QBs are trying to get that bread, though. So while A-Raj is out here keeping not only the Packers and the Jets, but potentially other teams in flux until he figures out what the hell he wants to do, we have other teams and other QBs that are like, nah, man, it's time to get it. And one QB that's trying to get it is your man's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is trying to figure out how the hell can I spin the narrative? Because this article came out. The Athletic dropped the article that basically gave all the tea of the transaction of Russell Wilson deciding it was time to leave Seattle and where he wanted to go to next, which was Denver because of all the power he was given. And part of the power was getting his own office and being able to have his own staff, including his own QB coach, basically his own coordinators and his own training staff, to be able to have access to not only the locker room, but to the facility at large. Now, that's not totally uncommon. There was a lot of talk when this article first dropped that, oh my God, this is unforeseen. Do we not remember TB12? Do we not remember Eddie Guerrero for the Patriots? And I'll come off the screen share here for a second. Do we not remember TB12 and Eddie Guerrero, the doctor that's not really a doctor, that was able to have access to the Patriots facility? So, Russell Wilson having an office, Russell Wilson having his own team of, facilitators to help him be at whatever he's trying to be in the building is not totally uncommon. It's not unprecedented, but that's not the narrative that was put out there. It's like, oh my God, I've never heard of this. That's why they had to get Tom Brady about the paint in New England, because they were getting diminishing returns on his play, but they were still having to give him power to keep him. So you know what? You're not even the same dude anymore. We're going to get you up out of here and take that doctor that's not really a doctor, that may be administering Lord knows what to keep you and keep this longevity thing going. Y'all can go ahead to Tampa. Even if you will give up not winning another Super Bowl just to get the ego, the disease of me and you up out of here. So, this article was really great. It really gave the insight into how allegedly, and we'll go back to the screen, allegedly, Russell Wilson went to ownership and said, I need y'all to fire Pete Carroll and John Schneider, who was the GM. Basically because they're not helping me win. Despite giving me Tyler Lockett, despite giving me DK Metcalf, despite giving me, running backs galore, you're not helping me win. Despite the fact that I made y'all pay me exorbitantly, which meant you had to cut defensive players year after year after year, you're not helping me. Player empowerment, right? Or maybe is it player entitlement? There is a difference. We'll get there. So there was a lot of tea that was dropped in this article. There was a lot of, there are players that are quoted in this story. Current and former Broncos and Seahawks are quoted in this story. But I think that there's a part that's being missed in this story that I think tells the tale. And this is where we get into, was this player empowerment, or is this player empowerment or player entitlement? So I will bring up, let's see if we can do this here on the fly. Give me a sec here. I want to make sure I get the right one up, because there's two quotes, that one from this story and one from a prior story in another sport, that I think are saying the same thing. And once you see who else said a similar quote to Russell Wilson, it might put everything into perspective. So let's go with Russell's quote here, or a source close to Russell, to be specific. Because bring this in on YouTube, you'll be getting a different visual experience. Hope y'all like that. So let's read this here. Russell Wilson had a interview, or sat down and did a story with Peter King, Sports Illustrated, right? So this is what he told Peter King. Quote, this has to be a player-ran kind of team. Now, he said this coming into the season. So this is still Nathaniel Hackett. This is, the honeymoon phase of him in Denver. This has to be a player-ran kind of team, Wilson told King. Quote, Coach Hackett gives us the keys to do that. Now, specifically, he gave Russell Wilson keys to an office, okay? Which is not unprecedented, according to this story, but it's very peculiar. So it's not unprecedented, but very peculiar. After his visit, Peter King wrote about Russell Wilson's relationship with Hackett and compared it to his relationship with Pete Carroll. Peter King quoted one source close to Russell Wilson saying, quote, Hackett and Russell are not coach-player, they're partners. Let me run that back for y'all. Hackett and Russell are not coach-player, they're partners. Now, where have we heard that kind of rhetoric before? Let's go ahead and fly this off. oh, we can go to the sport of basketball. We can go to the league of the NBA. We can go to the conference that is the East. We can go to the division that is Atlantic. And we could go to the point guard that is Kyrie Irving, who said, quote, "When I say I'm here with Kev," as in Kevin Durant, "I think that it really entails us managing this franchise together alongside Joe Tsai, the owner, and Sean Marks. I'll run it back for you. When I say I'm here with Kev, I think that it really entails us managing this franchise together alongside Joe and Sean. Player empowerment or player entitlement? Let me know. Because for Kyrie Irving and Russell Wilson to both say the same thing, different ways, but saying the same thing, like, yo, we run this. Y'all run this with us. I am not just a player. I am not just an employee. I'm a high-level exec that just so happens to play. That's what they're thinking. Is that player empowerment or is that player entitlement? In this case, because both players, while I think Kyrie is better at what he does than Russell is at what he does, neither one are ones. And that's the problem, right? Neither one are ones. Is Russell Wilson, even at his apex, was Russell Wilson even a top 5 QB? Debatable. Has Kyrie Irving ever been top 5 in the league? That's not debatable. He never has. But yet and still, they've been able to convince owners, whether through a package deal with the Nets and Kevin Durant, whether through player empowerment forcing his way out of Brooklyn once things went sour, and now pairing himself with Luka for how long? Who knows? Or Russell Wilson, who, because he was able to get a chip early and then go back to the Super Bowl and, did what he did on the goal line. We'll let that slide for now, but that empowered him. His stature as a franchise QB empowered him, and more importantly, it entitled him through the Seahawks to then be acquiesced to at every measure. The Seattle Seahawks were worrisome about how much they had to basically bend over, pause, and take it from Russell. So being able to get him about the paint, and again, this is another guy that probably is on the downside of his career. Now, he made the Broncos, again, player empowerment or player entitlement, he made the Broncos give him a 5-year guarantee extension for an exorbitant amount of money. So, and this is a guy that's diminishing returns now, just like Brady was at the end in New England. This is what they got. This is what the Broncos got. They're getting diminishing returns on a guy that they had to pay top dollar for and give up a lot of draft collateral for and players just to go get. Player entitlement or player empowerment? Because this story really breaks down how for trying to get in the game, trying to be in the mix, trying to be in that conversation of we can contend, we can win. This is what the Broncos had to do with a new ownership group, a new head coach. Even though Russell Wilson wanted Sean Payton, even when he was in Seattle and he tried the power move of getting Schneider and Pete Carroll up out the paint, he was able to do all of this. But in regards to, understanding what was at stake here, Russell Wilson was willing to put his Seahawks tenure on the line because he felt the need that I have to now be in charge. I have played the good soldier, allegedly, even though he had his own team of guys in Seattle as well. One guy was hosting a radio show in Seattle, in addition to being like his trainer or another one of the QB assistant coaches or something. And once the trade to Denver happened, Mans up and quit his radio show gig because wherever Russ go, I go. That's how Mans is keeping it. So this is the type of people he has in his camp that is following him. So again, is Russell Wilson being surrounded by yes men? It certainly appears to be that way. I mean, he is a entity and unto himself, and we had the other report of him and Ciara maybe being funny money that he had to come out and repute because his charity wasn't really given the proper equation of funds to the causes that he said they was, or that the foundation said it was. So there's a lot of firestorms around Russell Wilson, and Mans is just really out here floundering. And now he's got Sean Payton. And Sean Payton's first decree is, yeah, no more office for you. Now, they tried to take the office away, or they restricted him from the office towards the end of the regular season last season. But Sean Payton's already said, yeah, all these QB assistant coaches and your own training staff and all that, yeah, all that is gone. They're out. Office, second floor, that's a wrap. So is this going to work where Russell Wilson is now going to have to become one of the guys, one of the 53 again? Because clearly he thought it was like A-Rod. Remember A-Rod when he was a free agent, when he was willing to walk away from the Seattle Mariners and your New York Mets were willing to be in the mix? They ultimately didn't want to do it because basically A-Rod was like, oh, I'm the team. It's 23 guys on the roster? You're like, it's 22 plus one. I'm the one. Like, so you're going to treat them 22 guys one way, but me, I get my own set of rules. I get my own set of stipulations. I get my own, basically, I do whatever I want, and you can do whatever you want with the rest of the team. Russell Wilson was willing and trying and was given permission to have that type of operation at the tail end in Seattle and the beginning of his tenure with Denver. And the results were mid. Normally, you think you're empowering someone by giving them access to all this stuff, and then it would flourish. But no, it was the other way around. The Broncos gave all this power. They bent over and said, to Russell Wilson, and they got horrific results. Yes, they had a lot of players on IR, new coaching staff, new scheme. They said that Russell was out here trying to bring plays from Seattle into the playbook and wasn't really telling nobody. He was changing calls at the line, and the old linemen didn't know what the hell was going on, changing up snap counts. So they had I think they had the second most false starts in the whole league because Russell would be out there freestyling. There was a lot of criticism of Nathaniel Hackett in regards to not getting the plays in on time, when it turns out that might have been more of a Russell thing than Nathaniel Hackett. So was Nathaniel Hackett just the fall guy to cover up the diminishing prime of Russell Wilson? Is this really a thing? Is Russell Wilson being able to use Nathaniel Hackett as a scapegoat when it now appears, thanks to this story from the Athletic, that, Russell might have really just been wilding out here freestyling, trying to figure this thing out on the fly? And if he was, what makes you think is going to change that drastically with Sean Payton? Sean Payton clearly has the pedigree and the resume for Russell to not want to do all that, especially if you want to believe the story of him wanting to fire Pete Carroll for Sean Payton. But once you get a taste of that entitlement, can you really go backwards? Especially when you're heading towards the end of your career, the team is mid, your performance has been mid. Are you really willing to be around the other 53 guys, 52 guys? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes, but I think more or less it's going to be when you look at who's in that division, when you look at the Raiders, assuming they get better, when you look at the Chiefs, who are in the middle of a dynasty, when you look at the Chargers, who are always on the cusp, where do the Denver Broncos fit in that scenario? Where do they fit in that division to truly have a chance to vie for a division crown or a wild card? Where's the movement going to happen? Who's going to fall back for them to jump up? Jay Herbo and the Chargers aren't going anywhere. You want to give me the Raiders? Sure. But I would like to assume they have a plan in place to supplant Derek Carr. And then you have the Chiefs and Mahomes, who might be on the run of who knows how many more Super Bowls. So where is that movement going to come for the Broncos, being led by I think, a diminishing asset and Russell Wilson, who they had to pay top dollar to, Sean Payton, who they don't disclose coaching salaries, but we know he was asking for the moon and the stars from every other team, so we assume he got that from Denver. You're paying a lot of stuff for a QB coach combo that we're not even sure works. But if you got Walmart money, does it even really matter? Moving on, I mentioned Derek Carr. Derek Carr is trying to get paid. How much are you willing to pay Derek Carr? Let's go here on the YouTube. Update, Derek Carr seeks a contract worth $35+ million per year. Quote, he doesn't need to be the first quarterback to sign. And then there's the editorial comment here. That's a relatively very fair contract for a veteran. I'm sorry, man. $35+ million for Derek Carr. We see the numbers that Daniel Jones was out here trying to go get. And that was astronomical. And I don't know whose demand is worse. I think Daniel Jones' demand is worse, but Derek Carr's demands isn't that far behind. I mean, I know the revenue is going to go up, and the next collective bargaining agreement that's definitely going to be a thing. So if you're the Jets, you have three options. Either you go all in and hope that Aaron Rodgers picks you. You do the check down option of Derek Carr, or do you try to trade up in the draft? Do you try to go get a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young? Or do you jump out the window all the way? And where is it? Let me make sure I got it. For Anthony Richardson, who is skyrocketing up a lot of draft boards, even to the point where there are actually some draft boards that have the first QB taken as being Anthony Richardson. Allegedly. This is draft season, so much like trade season, I always try to warn people, look, don't believe everything you hear. Draft season is always the same thing, no matter what league it is, whether it's NBA, NFL, whatever. You never want to believe every single thing. But there's been some reporting done that Florida QB Anthony Richardson is the biggest, quote, variance league-wide, end quote, on feeling about a QB. Some NFL teams have a first-round grade on him, while others have a fourth-round grade. A quote from one NFL executive, he's Cam Newton and Justin Fields combined. Bruh. I could see that being amazing and horrible all in the same sentence. Like, I don't know if that's even that much of a compliment. Like, Cam Newton, so that means you're erratic? Justin Fields, so that means you're erratic? I don't know where that puts you. If you're breaking down the skill set of Anthony Richardson, he certainly looks the part. In today's NFL of bigger, stronger, faster, he is in that mold. But he also has horrific accuracy and probably should not play next year, no matter where he gets drafted. I don't care if you if you jump out there and take him in the first round, cool. I still wouldn't start him next year. And if you take him in the fourth round, then you definitely have no pressure to start him anytime soon. But these are the options now if you're the Jets. Not necessarily take Anthony Richardson, but in the sense of, do you wait for Aaron Rodgers to figure it out? Do you be proactive and just go get Derek Carr? Or do you make a deal and move up into the upper tier of the draft and try to go get a CJ Stroud, a Bryce Young, hopefully not Will Levis, but one of the QBs. One of the QBs. Are you willing to do that if you're the Jets? If that's something the New York Jets should consider. Forget Aaron Rodgers, forget Derek Carr. we need to trade up and to get one of these quarterbacks. Now we can pair a young, close to ready now QB in a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young and pair them with all this offensive talent that the Jets have. And clearly they have defensive talent too, but in terms of a young QB walks in and he has receivers and he's got running backs, he's got a solid old line, and he has a couple of tight ends, like he's got a plethora of running backs. Like there's a lot there to walk into. That's why I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is taking so long to figure out. The talent that the Jets have should be enough for Aaron Rodgers to be like, you know what? They got like 3 running backs. They got at least 2. They have a stud receiver in Wilson, but they have other receivers too that with my, abilities could become solid 2s. They could have 2 solid 2s. I mean, hell, even Denzel Mims might live up to the potential with Aaron Rodgers. Like, the Jets have a squad. There's no better QB away team than the New York Jets. Maybe you want to say the 49ers? Maybe. But in terms of just talent, because now I want to see that 49er defense without DeMeco Ryans. But in regards to just talent and young talent, I don't know where else you'll go if you're Aaron Rodgers and you only got about 2 top-tier years left. Give me these young top-tier talent to go with, along with my old top-tier talent, and let's see how far that can go. That might be the only type of thing that can get in the way of this Chiefs dynasty. It's something like that, where you're bringing in a still top 5 QB, I'll give him that grace, in Aaron Rodgers, and pair that with all the drafting that Joe Douglas has been doing over his first couple of years with the Jets, and the fact that that defense has played well. Now, Robert Saleh, I'm not sold on him as a coach by any stretch, but just from a pure talent standpoint, I know how I feel about talent over everything. I think that's a no-brainer if I'm Aaron Rodgers. That's a no-brainer. But if you're the Jets, are you willing to wait on that? Or do you go get a stopgap in Derek Carr, who you're not investing? I mean, if I got to give Derek Carr, how much he said he wanted? $35 million a year, $35+ million a year for Derek Carr. Man, I mean, I guess like that's kind of the problem. Like, you're going to have to, you're taking in Aaron Rodgers money, which is way more than this 35+, but at least you're getting still top tier QB play. Derek Carr has been an enigma on this podcast. So I've been asking, is Derek Carr top 10? Sometimes he does. Sometimes he looks to be a top 20 QB. So I don't know if I'm willing to pay $35 million, but I guess if the Giants are going to have to pay Daniel Jones close to the same amount, if not more, then I guess if you're the Jets, you have to pay Derek Carr $35+, I guess. But I don't know where this money stops. For the average QB, for mid QBs, I mean, Jimmy G has to be salivating. But unfortunately, the only QB that can't salivate is this man, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson wants a fully guaranteed contract in line with Deshaun Watson. And let me make sure I got the right drop. Yeah, I got the right drop. Make sure to pot that up.
I told you!
When I said he should ask for 300,
I told you!
I said 300, right?
I told you!
Not a penny less, right?
I told you!
I try to tell y'all, when that contract was announced, I went on Twitter Spaces on the Elon app, and I said, yo, if I'm Lamar, I want the same thing. Don't you come to me with no incentive-laden contract. Don't you come to me with nothing. Deshaun got what? Oh, I want that too. I said it then. Some people thought I was trying to troll. Some people thought I was just being a contrarian. Now here we are about a year later, and Lamar Jackson wants fully guaranteed contract in line with Deshaun Watson.
I told you!
I mean, y'all think I be bullshitting. I be trying to tell y'all, man, like, once someone breaks the bank like that, and I'll read a little blurb here. I'll go ahead and bring it down to the blurb. Lamar Jackson wants a fully guaranteed deal similar to the 5-year, $230 million deal the Browns gave Deshaun Watson. According to sources, Lamar turned down a 5-year, $250 million contract with Here's the caveat, 133 million guaranteed. Why on earth would you offer this man 133 million guaranteed when Kyler Murray got 160? Why? Why would you do that? Who in the Ravens front office thought it would be smart, thought it would be savvy to offer 27 million less to a league MVP? Why? Why would you do that? Who in their right mind in that Ravens front office had the bright idea to, well, let's offer Lamar, because he has no agent, so clearly he's a dummy. Let's offer him $27 million less than Kyler Murray? What? What? Who was the genius in Baltimore that assumed that Lamar Jackson, with no representations of all we know, we could pull a fast one on him, let's offer him more total money that's incentive-based than the actual thing of giving him what he wants, which is fully guaranteed bread. Deshaun got 230 guaranteed. I'm sure early in this process, if they would have said, all right, we'll give you 231, he probably takes that just to prove the point that I'm better than him. But now they're trying to give me incentive-laden contracts instead of the fully guaranteed contract that I asked for. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to go holler at the players union. Now I'm going to go do all this stuff. Now you want me to go on the road for playoff games? I'm not showing up. No. First of all, I'm hurt. Second of all, y'all keep playing with my money. Y'all think because I don't have an agent that I don't know how to represent myself and get fair market value. The market value is now $230 million guaranteed. I don't care about incentive-laden contracts no more. The standard has now been set. I don't care if other owners around the league are pissed off at the Browns. The fact of the matter is that they were desperate enough and had the balls enough to do something that had never been done before in this league and give someone, a quarterback, that level of money fully guaranteed. So now, you know what? The bar has been set. 230, I want 250. If I was Lamar's agent or representative or whatever, I'd be like, yo, 300. Why not? I'm that much better than Deshaun Watson. And I could argue that I am worth 70 more million guaranteed, which if you average it out annually, isn't that much in the grand scheme. I am worth that much more per year than Deshaun Watson. That's how I would move if I'm Lamar, because let's say he gets to 250, guaranteed. That's only 20 million more. If it's a 5-year deal, that's only 4 million more. After tax and everything else, that's maybe 1.7, if he's lucky, more. Isn't Lamar Jackson worth 1.7 more in his bank, more than Deshaun Watson? If I'm him, I'm saying yes. Deshaun Watson is not only 1.7 million after taxes more than me. I'm worth more annually, more. The gap between Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson is that much. It's not 1.7. It's more than that. So 300. 5 years, that's 60 mil. Okay, we can do that math. 60 mil. Yeah. I'm worth that much more as a former league MVP, face of the league potential, cover of Madden, one of the most popular, one of the most viral players. Yes, I have brought that much revenue to not only the Ravens, but to the entire NFL itself. Yes, 300 million. Pay me. I don't know why they keep playing with that man. I don't know why they keep playing with that man. He needs to get his money. Lamar is worth way more than Deshaun Watson, and always has, by the way. And I'm not sure. Why the Ravens are trying to play hardball, but it's looking like the real possibility. In Atlanta, Arthur Blank. Don't play games, Arthur Blank. Don't play games. If you trade for him and you're going to have to give up a boatload, you also should give him that money. Not no incentive laden. Give him that guaranteed bread. $250. $250 should not be a problem for Arthur Blank, because those jerseys are going to sell. Like, certain jerseys become national jerseys. Football sometimes is a very regional sport, but Lamar, because of all of this that he's gone through in this negotiation process and the way that, you know, people that don't look like him have been openly criticizing him throughout his career, he has carried a fan base that is outside of Baltimore. So there will be a lot of people that will follow wherever Lamar ends up. So if the Falcons jump out there and do it, it's a black city already. It's a team that's been embraced by that culture. Like, if Lamar goes to Atlanta, it's going to be pandemonium. It's going to be real. It's going to come to the thing where that money you're going to have to pay him guaranteed, you're going to make so much more than that. Ticket sales through the roof. Season ticket plans through the roof. Game pack plans through the roof. Jersey revenue, merch, everything through the roof. Do they still do PSLs? Through the roof. Whatever. They're going to, like, him in Atlanta. I mean, the businesses, the sponsorship deals, like, it's going to be insane if Lamar is able to go there. So if Baltimore doesn't want to pay him, okay, go ahead and mortgage him. Flip him for everything. But Atlanta, Arthur Blank, don't play no games. Give him the same guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson broke the mold. Like, that contract will be one of those ones that stands the test of time, because now you can't ever say no one can get fully guaranteed money. And Lamar Jackson is saying, okay, that's now the bar. Not the bar of these other QBs that keep signing. Well, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to make $50 million. Like, look at the contract that Patrick Mahomes is on. That's a bargain right now, because a lot of it is incentive-based. $500 million. We got crazy, wild by the numbers, but a lot of it is incentive-based. He's not getting the most guaranteed. If I'm his agent, I'm spinning the block on the Chiefs. Like, yo, that's 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowl MVPs and another regular season MVP. We need to talk. If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I am rooting like hell for Lamar Jackson to get 250 guaranteed or even 300 guaranteed, because then I am spinning the block on the Chiefs like, hey, bruh, another Super Bowl MVP, another regular season MVP. I know that 500 ballooned incentive-based number was nice. Hey, maybe now we talk about that 500 guaranteed. From the problematic nature of Lamar Jackson potentially not getting fully guaranteed money, we move on to another problematic thing in the shield, that is the NFL. Eric Bieniemy did not get a head coaching job yet again, which seems to be the umpteenth time in a row that he has been passed over. But he has finally left Kansas City. He has fully left Kansas City. He is now with the Washington Commanders, and he is now the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator with play call responsibilities, because apparently that's one of the big bugaboos for the Washington Commanders. So Eric Bieniemy bounces. He leaves Patrick Mahomes. He leaves Andy Reid. He goes to Washington Commanders, where they have a lot of weapons, but I still think they're QB away. I mean, if you're a believer in Sam Howell, salute, would it be me? But Eric Bieniemy has certainly come under fire, and he's come under fire from people that don't look like him, but he has also come under fire from people who do like him, who do look like him, and former players. And one of those players is Shady McCoy, LaShawn McCoy, who said, don't believe the hype. He's not that great. Basically playing up to a lot of the same tropes that have been put out there about Eric Bieniemy. I'm not going to get into what Shady said, because I don't really look, Shady was at the tail end of his career. He had fumbling problems at the end, and allegedly Eric Bieniemy tried to tell LaShawn McCoy to keep it high and tight, as Tyreek Hill tweeted out. But yeah, I'm not going to buy into that. But Eric Bieniemy had a lot of things to say in his introductory press conference, and someone smartly also asked him about LaShawn McCoy's comments. So let's go ahead and get that.
LaShawn McCoy is a future Hall of Fame runner, okay? Everybody's entitled to their own position, to their own comments and how they feel. When it's all said and done with, I think that's all I have to say, because he's entitled to his own opinion. That's life, okay? You got good and you have bad, you know? It does not impact me in any way, because one thing that you learn when you're in this position, you have to learn to eliminate distractions, all right? My job is to focus on the now. Everything outside these walls has no impact on Eric Bieniemy moving forward.
Okay, so, Eric Bieniemy, strong words there, strong sentiment, and I believe him that he's not really worried about LaShawn McCoy's comments. I think the main problem is that there's been a lot of narratives about Eric Bieniemy, and the problem is that they're just unfounded. And, I found there was an article again on the Athletic. And look, I'm a big fan of journalism. My goal of getting into this industry originally was to be a journalist. But some of the reporting that's being done is very, very important. And it needs to continue to be done, because some of the information that we're being given here, some of the tea that's been leaked, you wouldn't get that without journalism. So if you can afford it, every year around Black Friday or the holiday season, they always do $1 a month for the Athletic. It's $12 a year if you can't do that math. But it's always a very important thing that I always pull up. But here is a quote, and I'm doing this here on the fly, so give me a second. But it shows just the lack of transparency when it comes to Eric Bieniemy. And I put this out here on the Elon app, and I'll come off this. All right, let's go back to the box for a second. Let me get this lined up properly. The fact of the matter is that, all right, now I think I got it better lined up. One persistent knock is Bieniemy's lack of full-time play calling experience, but plenty of coordinators, including many white candidates, have been hired as head coaches without checking that box. That includes Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy, the two coordinators who preceded Bieniemy under Reid in Kansas City. Why the double standard? Well, we can pretty much say why there's a double standard. It's because Eric Bieniemy is black. That specific example right there puts everything else to bed. I don't care what Shady McCoy is saying. I don't care what your favorite pundits are saying, just trying to get their clicks and views up. The fact of the matter is that the biggest knock on Bieniemy, outside of, oh, he's a bad interview, like, what does that even mean? Apparently, he's very stern and very straightforward. Wow, that's not something we see often in football coaches. Anyway, one of the biggest knocks is the fact that he doesn't play call. He doesn't even call the plays. Well, that's not true, because the biggest play that kept whipping the Eagles' ass in the Super Bowl all game long was the play that Bieniemy said they should run. That wasn't Andy Reid. That was Eric Bieniemy. So the little whip play that kept busting the Eagles' ass, that was Eric Bieniemy. That literally won them a Super Bowl. Bieniemy noticing that play against the Jaguars and saying, let's run that. Let's spin the block and run that, and then let's flip it and reverse it a few times and see how to react. And they bust their ass with it, even on the controversial penalty that basically put them in position to win the game, to win the championship, to win a Lombardi. Was that same play call by Bieniemy. But anyway, he doesn't call plays full time. When the two coordinators before him did this position in the same manner, no full-time play calling experience. But yet and still, Doug Peterson gets a job, and Matt Nagy, who was a train wreck in Chicago, also got a job. Oh, but I guess they're great interviews. Would you rather have Eric Bieniemy, who maybe is a horrible interview because he's so stern and straightforward, but knows to call the play that will whip the Philadelphia Eagles' ass in the Super Bowl over and over and over again? Or Matt Nagy, who also didn't have full-time play calling responsibilities and didn't have a clue for multiple seasons with the Chicago Bears, but won the interview. Who would you rather have? Who's more proven? What are we doing here? It's because he's black. That's it. There's no nuance. It's not layered. It's because he's black. Stop making this harder than it has to be. Eric Bieniemy was a former player. Everyone loves former players. It's the hot thing. He's a guy that had success as a player. He's a guy that has had success as a coordinator and as a part-time play caller, including the most recent Super Bowl. And he can't get a job because he can't interview well? Do you really care about an interview when you see the results that he's gotten? Some people aren't great test takers. Some people, you put a test in front of them, they freeze up. But then if you just ask them those same questions verbatim in a conversational matter, they'll ace it. That's how it is sometimes. Not everyone can be taught the same. Not everyone, absorbs education in the same way. Some people are not great at interviews. But to keep nitpicking Eric Bieniemy is absurd. And I don't like to use the R word in terms of racist, but I don't know what other word to use. Prejudiced? I don't know what other words to use. You're running out of excuses. Another Super Bowl. Another regular season MVP and Super Bowl MVP for the quarterback that he was coordinating. And we have old running backs who were washed up and only played 1 year under him being able to push a narrative forward than the regular season MVP and the Super Bowl MVP and Patrick Mahomes. How does that make sense? Shady has a microphone when the goddamn Patrick Mahomes has the actual Lombardi in his possession. And yet we're going to listen to Shady more than Patrick Mahomes. Make it make sense.